Hey there, it's Tracy Tully, and you're listening to Tracy Tully Talks at bbsradio.com, the place to be right now. Streaming live with another 60 minutes of thought-provoking topics, sharing with you conversations that are relevant today, tomorrow, and in the future. Join me each week on Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Australian time, AEST, 5 p.m. Wednesday PT. Hello, Los Angeles. If you missed the live show, jump onto your favorite podcasting platform and you'll find me on Tracy Tully Talks. We do have some adult language, so if you have some little ones around, pop on your earphones.
I believe we're live with the Tracy Tully Talks show. This is Julie Martin, and I am here today as Tracy's guest speaker. And I think Tracy is just wondering about what is all about Julie. I am Julie Martin with Julie Martin Essentials. I am an expert life coach, and I specialize in divorce coaching. My specialty came from my experience, a little bit about me. About 17 years ago, I was married. I thought happily at the time, had 2 sons, and my husband was unfaithful, went outside of the marriage, and it ended up in the dissolving of our marriage. Needless to say, broke my heart. Life turned on a dime. And so in looking to find newness and resolve and to move on into my life, I moved thousands of miles away to be closer near my family. And I recreated myself. And it's a little bit of a talk and a little bit of an explanation, but it really gives you a good example or reason why I am who I am and why I am really a good expert coach when it comes to divorce and empowerment. Like I said, my sons were young and I had to restart my family. I've been sucker punched with an affair, which I think a lot of people can relate to that. I quickly decided that I wanted to become a massage therapist. And along with that, with being a stay-at-home mom and running a family and a home and everything that goes along with it, I decided to open up my own business and created and designed a holistic spa. And from there, I went into becoming a certified holistic nutrition specialist, a detoxification coach, and an expert life coach. And really what was interesting was with my clients, though they were in for their spa therapies, I would often end up talking to them about their separation, their divorce, or if something just had completely changed their life, just unexpected. And they were really seeking answers and direction and hope. And what I found myself doing, I really had an epiphany, was that through my process of the past 17 years, I was actually already coaching women to move on with compassion, understanding, support. And I really, it hit me just out of the blue that, oh my gosh, I've been doing this all along. So I created Julie Martin Essentials, and I've got life coaching programs that deal with divorce, moving on, empowerment, and really truly being there for women who have fallen and are struggling to find the way out. Often people will ask me, well, what is the difference between me and a therapist? Well, therapists are licensed. I am sort of that girlfriend that is by your side. You can be totally honest with me. Everything is confidential. And with hearing what's going on with you, we find ways, we find options. My mantra in life is that there are always options. I do not operate in absolutes. So I work with my clients in finding options for them to move through and beyond the journey that they have unwittingly just happened to them. Most of my clients. Hello.
Hello, how are you, Julie? I'm listening to you. That's
I'm
great.
just talking to everybody out there and just giving a brief explanation of who I am and why I am what I am.
And how you've come to be where you are. And it's interesting that we're talking about divorce today because when we look at the divorce data across the world, it has risen significantly since the 1960s. And I think it was about 2.2% in the 1970s to 5% in the 2000s. And we
Mhm.
know that there's certain categories with people who are divorced, and they sit around categories like how young they are when they got married, whether or not they lived together before they got married, if they have a lower education or a lower income. The divorce data also tells us if you have a religious affiliation, that it can affect it,
Mhm.
and also if you come from a family with divorced parents. What sort of clients, Julie, do you tend to attract to your business besides divorce clients?
Sure, sure. Well, divorce is my target specialty, but I really work with empowering women. My clients typically, I don't want to put them all in an average, but if you look at this pinpoint, it's women who are trying to refine themselves in their life. It could be because of a divorce. It could be because of empty nesting. It could be because of a career change, just a change in their family status. And typically around the ages of 40, 45, 50, 55. And they're just lost because their whole life is changing about them and they don't have any idea of how to reclaim their life and to move through these things, and they traditionally can't lose it. So they are successful in their careers, they have their family, they've raised their children. They cannot emotionally lose it, because if they emotionally lose it, they stand to lose their credibility in their community, their credibility with their business, with family members. So they really have a lot to lose, and they need desperately to speak to somebody because they're just about at their tipping point.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and being in Arizona, in the US, we have the highest data for divorce rates in the US, along with Norway, Korea,
Mhm.
Mexico, and Turkey have the
Mhm.
highest rates. And we look at the history of divorce in terms of the fact that the post-war culture, women married men in accordance with obviously the times and on what they could cope with. But as the years moved on, when they hit the 70s, so from the 50s to the 70s, these women were starting to divorce their husbands because the times had changed, and where they were a good match when they married post-war, they found that they're into the 70s and 80s, their partner was the wrong person for them. Do you find sometimes maybe, and that's going back, way before the 2000s, do you find that maybe that there's a bit of a trend there with women when they get married, looking for a certain type of lifestyle and marriage and partner, to when they get to, as you're saying, older, and that they might start actually feeling insecure or unhappy in their marriage?
I do. And to put it just exactly with your point, is that I'll just use mine as an example, you get married mid 20s, you have a certain perspective of what you want in your life. And as you go through a marriage, 14 years, 15 years, 16 years, sometimes you make slight adjustments and you make another slight adjustment. And after 15, 16 years, you wake up and you look at the person next to you and you're going, I don't even know you. And that is what I'm finding with a lot of my clients. And also, given the season that we are going through right now, a lot of people have been on lockdown.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, a lot of people are looking at their partners and saying, this hasn't been working for a long time, and this has got to change. So, how it has hit people in such a tragic way, in
Mm.
another way, it's almost an opening of an option, a solution, and an acceptance of how they view the marriage, and that it's time to perhaps move on.
Mm. And it's all around communication, isn't it? If you have a marriage based on a very solid, good, open communication and problem solving, then you're bound to be able to deal with that as time changes. And with or without, the end result could still be a divorce. But if you're in a partnership where communication has always been a problem, or one of the partners is needy or insecure, then communication really does affect a lot of it. Is that what you find?
Absolutely. Communication is key. And when the communication breakdown happens, partners stop talking. Partners start getting easily agitated, and then it just ends the conversation. So with my lady clients, it's really teaching them, and some of them might choose, if they're working on empowerment, they're not going to leave their marriage, but it's really working with them on finding their voice and standing up for what they do desire and what they would love in a partner. And possibly it works out with their partner, and sometimes it doesn't, but it's finding that voice inside and being true to themselves on what they truly want and who they truly, want to be with.
It's interesting what you're saying. Our guest last week, her name was Gertrude Mkachi, and she was talking about when her marriage disintegrated and she moved from Zimbabwe over to New Zealand, and her husband was a doctor. And instead of getting a job in New Zealand with her and the kids, he ended up having to go to Australia. So they had long periods of time away from each other. She really struggled financially and on her own with the kids. And she had a beautiful quote, and she basically said that, if you can't come to the table, then it's not going to work for me. And so she divorced him, and they moved on, and she's happily married now.
Right. Well, and I do see that with many of my clients. Sometimes the pain of trying to hold on and trying to make it work, desperately trying to make it work, instead of just, I know it sounds easy, but just releasing it and letting it settle. You really can get a really good resolve on it that way. But sometimes it's just telling somebody that it's okay to back away for a while, and not be so narrowly focused on it and trying to figure it out and make it happen. And sometimes with the other partner, the answer is no. And when an answer is no, the answer is no.
No means no, doesn't
it? No means no.
And people change as they grow older, don't they? They do change, especially in their work environment, and especially in their maturity.
Well, and if you look at careers, I think the average career, they say, for a person in their lifetime is, are we up to 4 now? I'm not sure on the statistic, but we change. And I always tell my clients, it's not right or wrong. There's nothing right or wrong about this partner versus that partner. It's just, it is what it is. And once you have the truth and you know what is on the table, what's in the ballpark, what you're working with, that is where you can truly find your personal epiphanies and your aha moments and your reemergence into your new life.
It's interesting when you mentioned the word COVID, and COVID certainly changed the landscape, didn't it? Everywhere in the world, across every level, but in particular, marriages either suffered or they grew stronger. And I found that talking to a lot of FIFO, fly-in, fly-out workers that I'm friends with, and the struggles that they have experienced, given that their marriages already were probably at tenterhooks with the FIFO style of life and work, and then you add on the extra where they're contained interstate and couldn't come home. That certainly took a big jolt to a lot of marriages. And I'll use mine as example. I'm just married 31 years. Now we have a marriage that would be very, very unique to a lot of people, because from the moment that we met, my husband was literally a Dido, drive in, drive out, and interstate. And he would only come home every 3 months. So my entire life, I had only been brought the kids up on my own. I held down my job as a high school principal. And I also worked his business, which was as a shearing contractor, and he's a wool and sheep buyer. So it was a tough, tough world as it was. Given COVID, when COVID hit, his company would not allow him to go outside the parameters of his boundaries for work, which means I haven't seen him since Christmas.
Oh, wow.
And that's pretty massive, especially for someone like myself and us who are used to isolation. We're very used to isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And it really did make things very difficult. And I think I had a lot of nights crying because of the frustration, how difficult it is. I'm in the middle of moving house today, and hence probably the problems with the disruption. I've got tradies in here as well, and a truck coming shortly. So trying to do all this on my own is very difficult. So I can understand how women, when all of a sudden they've got the husband at home all the time, or men, and I shouldn't just be talking about women, but I suppose I'm only doing that because I am a woman, and I'm sure men would find that equally as difficult, that once you're at home in a very cloistered, enclosed environment, that things could get a bit tricky. Have you found your data has risen?
I have had a lot of my consultations with women who are going through exactly what we're discussing here. But I wanted to make one point about when you're talking about with the COVID, is it really shook and fractured everyone's foundation. So you have the foundation that's fractured, and people are just looking for controls. It's like sand going through their fingers, and every day their life might change, different pressures come in, things like that. And so really finding the spaces where you can gain your control, things that you can control, things that you can't control. And I know that sounds, petty and easy, but it really is. Whenever we get agitated, most of the times it's because there is something that we are trying to control or solve or move forward, find some solution, and it's just not changing. So you add the COVID onto a woman's, and I'm going to speak as a woman because I'm a woman, going through a separation, maybe a divorce, and now she is getting impacted. Her foundation is gone. The structure of a parent and a partnership is gone, and she's really getting a double whammy of trying to restart and rebuild her foundation with COVID, now with a marriage or an ending of a marriage. So the ladies that have been contacting me, really, they're at their wits' end, and they're impacting inside. And my heart breaks every time I talk to a woman who feels like they are worthless, they're useless, they don't have answers, they can't do this. Tracy, it just breaks my heart. That is the call. It's just the call to me. It brings tears to my eyes. It's just near and dear to me.
Yeah, and in flipping the coin, I'd love to hear from some guys as well in terms of the impact from them. And one of the people I've been talking to is two actually, FIFOs interstate, so that they haven't seen their partners for a very long time too, and forced to go into the mines and work for a period of time, then come out, do their quarantine again, and then go back in again, and it's added on. So the stress then has been the lack of income, etc. And guys deal with it in their own way, succinct to who they are. But with the women I know in particular, that we know that the statistics, once again, the data is that the women will have in Australia, and I don't know about the US, have lost their jobs at a greater number than the men. So you couple a loss of income with high debt, and then homeschooling, that added just another whammy, didn't it? And guys and women were trying to deal with that. And then you've got this very volatile mix starting to happen. And if you haven't got those good structures at, as you said, the foundation level in your marriage, it's going to make it that a little bit spiky.
Right, right. And so and again, with women, I would love to hear how the men, it's
Mm,
affecting them as well. But I like to focus on moving forward.
yeah.
I I understand what they're going through, and when I work with my clients, we take a good assessment of what's going on, what they've been doing, what's working, what's not working. But my whole mantra is options. There are always options. I do not believe in absolutes. And
Mm,
so by taking their experience, and I listen intently, and we find options together just to give them a sense of control and clarity into moving forward. Because if we wallow in the uncertainty, I mean, I can't, if I had $1 for every time I hear uncertain, challenging, all these words just keep on pummeling the human psyche. Uh, to have somebody, a coach, just help them, just help to build them up, help to move them forward, dust off the knees, get them moving, telling them it's going to be okay, and finding options and helping to make them a plan for them.
Now, one of the questions I'd like to ask you is how are you different from a business coach? And the reason I'm asking this question is obviously you take a female who's stuck at home in COVID, homeschooling,
Mhm.
and has a business she's running from home as well. And
Mhm.
a lady Dee Stearman, who I interviewed a couple of weeks ago, she has 3 businesses she's running. And tell me, what sort of coaching advice are you giving to those sorts of clients that are coming in? And the world's really crashing, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And like you said, with the business and children and all the other pressures that are going on, I really work with my clients as far as scheduling.
Mm,
First off, finding the priorities. We have, if they don't know their priorities,
yeah.
they're just going to wallow. So we find their priorities:
Mhm.
family first, business, whatever their order of their priorities are. Then we work on scheduling in to make things happen. Like I said, there's always options. I always say, if you say you can't, you never will. My kids are tired of me saying that to them, but it's true. If you say you can't, you never will. So working in their with their schedule, what they have to offer, where they can fit certain things in, where the business takes precedent, where the little ones, need to be preoccupied with finding something. So it's just a balancing act. It is a lot of pressure, but I will tell you, Tracy, having someone there that they can bounce it off, because quite frankly, everyone is going through this. And so if Susie Q wants to bounce it off her girlfriend's going through it too, and they are just imploding.
Yeah.
So but I do just working with their priorities, getting their calendar in order, finding some structure
Yeah.
to what's going on, and slowly, step by step, baby steps. It takes baby steps.
And I like that advice there that you're talking about, because without that structure,
Mhm.
a lot of people, even without COVID, would struggle without structure. Then you add COVID, you add homeschooling, you add loss of income,
Mhm.
health fears,
Mhm.
and maybe parents or relatives who are sick or could possibly sick, and it's certainly been a big jolt for us. So tell me, what kind of programs do you offer? I'd love to hear about this.
Well, in dealing with empowerment and specifically with divorce, I have 3 options right now at the moment that
Yeah.
I offer my clients. I have one program, it's called the Just Ask Julie program. And that is for introductory clients when they're dipping their toe in the water, just trying to see, how they work with me, how it just all goes down. That is a program that has 3 25-minute modules. So it's really spot cleaning, laser focused, one issue. It might be a client says that they're having an issue, say, with one of their dear friends, and they can't speak to their family, their coworkers, anybody around it. So talking to me confidentially, I'm no one to them. I'm not in their daily life. I don't show up for dinner. I'm not showing up for Christmas dinner. So we can get some real, true, honest options. So that's a Just Ask Julie program, real small, little dip your toe in program. I have the big program is the Dignified Divorcee program. And that is a 9-week program. It's a 9-module program where I take my clients step by step through various attributes of reclaiming their life, everything: nutrition, boundaries, energy, self-love, self-acceptance. It is really a phenomenally transformative program, and that includes 9 personal private coaching sessions with them as well. So that is my larger program. Kind of in the middle of the road is the basic private coaching program, and this is working on 1 or 2 targeted areas. It is made up of 5 phone calls, 1 complimentary onboarding call, get to know you kind of call, and that's where we work on the empowerment and whatever specifically they are having issues with. And when I talk to my clients, what I find really extraordinary is they'll be talking about a situation. And as I ask questions, we sort of peel back the onions, peel it back, peel it back, peel it back. And we actually get to an issue and a struggle that they've been having that they didn't think was the issue. And yet this subterranean issue is affecting everything up here. But when we work on the base layer, it affects so much. So yeah, so those are fabulous 3 programs, something for everyone.
Now, I love what you're saying, because I hear you say, I offer programs and courses too, and you're talking about the big one, the Dignified Divorcee, which is a 9-week program, and you're offering 9 consultation one-on-one. That's a lot. That's a lot of value there. And I can imagine that in 9 weeks, you could have quite a significant impact on someone who's gone from 0 to starting to stick their head out of the water and see, I can breathe. And yeah.
That I get chills with that, Tracy, when you just said that. That is the greatest satisfaction I have. And just one quick story. I had a client, and when she first came to me, she was explaining her situation, and just tears were flowing down her face. And at the end of the program, she was talking to me again, going through everything, and tears were flowing down her face. And I said, take a moment. I said, what are your tears that you're crying now? And she said, happy tears. And it does. It takes the sad tears to the happy tears and the ahas. And it really is quite magnificent. It truly is.
That's right. And I speak to a lot of people who are in the throes of leaving or separated or getting ready for divorce or post-divorce. And I hear lots of different stories, and some with incredible anger because their partner has actually taken off with a younger model. And that can be very disconcerting, obviously, in so many ways in terms of trust. And then there's a real grief. A grieving, and then of course there's the problem with the children. What do you do with the children? So there's lots and lots of areas. It's quite a tricky area to navigate that you've picked there.
You know what it is, but I'll tell you what, Tracy, it's because I've lived it. It's because it was my experience. And I'm not going to go into detail, but there are a lot of attributes to my experience that would just blow a lot of people's minds. So yes, I've been there. I have worked through the anger, the pain, the trust, all these things. When I talk to my clients, I truly am hand in hand with them. I've truly been there. I know what they're going through. Absolutely.
What really worries me with a lot of people I listen to, both males and females, is the loss of income, because one or the other could be depending on the partner for income, and all of a sudden there is no income. And especially for women, I see a lot of women later in life, so their 50s and 60s, who are almost street bound because they've lost everything. One lady I was talking to the other day, and I was sharing some information that you were coming on board, and that particular person said they were in such a low state that they couldn't fight for the home and the car and all that. They couldn't fight for half of it because they were threatened. And I thought that is really, really sad. And you'd come across a lot of that, wouldn't you, with that fear of it's just easier to give it to him than stand my ground and say, well, half of this is mine.
Right.
And we're getting down to the nitty gritty stuff now, aren't we? The he and she said,
Yeah, and we're
I
not
own
trying to, we're not picking sides, and we're not because
no. But
not at
these
all.
are elements we need to talk about, don't we?
No, but we do need to talk about it. And yes, with the ladies getting to the point where they can't afford it and they feel that deep sense of just fear. They look at that bank account and they don't have the money to fight. Um, with when my portion of coaching is really to help them emotionally and to help them see what they can possibly do. But I do want to say that with being a life coach, I have a multitude of colleagues that are experienced in legal issues, business issues, career issues. And so a lot of them will do things just as from the gift of their heart, because they've been there themselves once in a time. So when we get to a point of something that is beyond my expertise, I have a lot of lovely, lovely ladies, excuse me, that I can refer my client to at no cost to them. There, like I said, there's always an option. I will keep on digging. We will find options. I won't give up.
You've talked about women. Do you coach men as well?
At this time, I do coach some men on empowerment, some a little bit on nutrition, but primarily I do coach women. Nothing against men. It's just that I understand, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and all that we hear. But I specialize with women at this time. However, I do want to say that if there is a male out there, please do not let me saying that dissuade you. If you want to reach out for a free consult, please, my male listeners, absolutely, absolutely. And if there's something I can do, we'll do it. And if I can help you and refer you on, I will absolutely do that.
And the reason I ask this is because sometimes it's good to hear a male perspective, especially, as women, we don't think like men, and that's all there is to it. We're not even pretending we do. And to hear a male perspective is really good. And with likewise, for men to hear a female's perspective can be really good. And I suppose that's where you would refer on to psychologists or psychiatrists.
Absolutely. I am an expert life coach. I do not pretend or promote myself as a clinical therapist, psychologist. And with clients, if we get to a level and there's something that's just a little too deep, a little too emotional, and they need to be referred out, absolutely. I do not put on a hat that I am not qualified for.
Now tell me, is there a divorce coach club? Like, is there a group of ladies or men, a group of coaches in this area that get together and network?
You know what? I have just a small network of other coaches, nutritional coaches, fitness coaches, and things like that. As far as divorce coach, I don't have any. No, I don't.
No, I don't know many. I don't know any at all.
And I think it's one thing though, with speaking with my colleagues, whether they be a business coach, a legal coach, we all of these are sort of interwoven together. And so if they're discussing a business client situation, not giving names, and I have the same experience, there are a lot of tools and skills that are interwoven, whether you are seeking a business coach, a legal coach, a divorce coach, a fitness coach. So there are a lot of basic foundations that really are woven in amongst all those coaches. So we do collaborate together quite a bit on those issues.
Do you find that with some of your clients there's an opportunity to save it, so to get the husband and wife together? And I know you're not a psych, but as a coach you still have a toolkit with valuable tools in it to help. Do you ever do that sort of thing, like a joint couple, whether they be a male, female, male, female, whatever? Do you have that opportunity at all much? Or are they
yes. I have had that opportunity in the past, but what's interesting is when I am coaching my client, I do sort of sometimes will take the other partner's approach. Example, I had a client who was talking about something and she said that her husband wasn't acknowledging it and he was da, 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 and she was going on. And I said, okay, wait a moment. I said, have you ever told him? And she was like, no. And I said, well, then how can you expect him to know if you haven't told him? So in that way, it's sort of coaching with both partners there, but then she takes the knowledge. She went back and the following session, she talked to me and she said, oh my gosh, Julie, such a simple thing changed such a huge problem. So some marriages, yes, either we work through one partner who relays it to the other, and a lot of marriages are saved. A lot of women say, you know what, I'm going to make this work. And I salute them. I am not here to dissolve marriages. I am not here to make marriages work. I am here to listen to the client, to see where they're coming from, see what's going on, and shed some outside light onto it and some objective perspective and let them come to their conclusions. I don't tell them what to do. I simply give them tools and help them with the catalyst.
Yeah. So tell me, since we're talking about women, what sort of women does your business and your coaching angle, what sort of women does it not help?
Well, obviously, any woman going through the journey, either the beginning of a divorce, separation, or a lot of my clients they have been divorced for quite a while and they're just stuck. They are just stuck. So I don't want to say that a certain client wouldn't work. However, what I will say that is my goal as a coach is to get the knees dusted off. Let's get in, let's start digging, let's start moving through it, and let's get you onto newness. When I talk to a client and they're more apprehensive and more, well, I can't do this and I can't do that. And when we keep on talking and if they're not ready, if they're not ready to come to the plate, like you were saying earlier with your friend and her husband, if a client comes to me as a consult and is not ready to come to the plate, I'm not going to drag them. I'm not going to drag them. I'm always here for them when they want to call, and I will give them little tidbits of advice and suggestion. But really, my ultimate client that really gets their true results is the one that is at their wit's end. They're at their tipping point. They are basically saying, I can't do this anymore. My family's not functioning. My career's not functioning. I'm going to lose it. I cannot be in the same position a year from now. Those are the clients that really seek out my services and are like, Julie, let's do this. And some call me and they might wait a couple months, maybe 6 months, and then they recall me and then they're ready.
Yeah. Because there'd be quite a fragile sense of self-esteem too, to reach out and ask for help. I can imagine someone who's been a powerful, independent person all their life, and all of a sudden the walls come crashing down.
Well, it is, and a lot of women that are high up in their careers. You're talking lawyers, CEOs, and I always equate it to if you're familiar with the movie The Devil Wears Prada. They are working a very strict career structure, and they can't let anybody know what's truly going on inside. And my clients feel so just comforted knowing that I am that soft place that they can say anything to me and it's not going anywhere. It is extremely confidential. I will go to my grave with my confidentiality.
And you have to, don't you? And that's
you have
one
to.
of the biggest things.
You have to, because with my process way back, I went through some situations where friends had said certain things and turned around and they had told another friend a certain thing, and it comes back and it really, you end up losing your trust over and over and over again. And I don't want my clients to do that. So absolute confidentiality. Yes.
It's a big thing, isn't it?
Huge.
Especially if,
huge.
There's a relationship where there's another partner, a third body that's entered the scene, and it can make things quite messy, can't it, and quite emotional on top of already, the emotion that they're struggling with.
Well, it can, and you know, just a little kind of like an acronym, not an acronym, but I try to tell people who haven't gone through divorce, well, what is it like? And I said, well, in my experience, and this is a feeling that my clients say they agree with, is going through a divorce is going to sleep with your best friend one night, and the next morning you're waking up with, I don't want to use the word enemy, but a person from the other team who has your playbook.
Mm, yes, they have all your secrets, don't they? A lot of people
They've
get
got the
this. Oh,
playbook. They've got the playbook. And you know, let's just face it, relationships, all relationships have a playbook, and people, you know, they know how to push each other's buttons, but now you have somebody who is completely on the other side. And when they've got your playbook, it's an extremely vulnerable position. So my heart just goes out for them. But that's how I just like to give that example because it's relevant.
it's a good narrative, that the
Yeah,
play. Yes.
yeah.
It's almost like you've got okay, I've got all my passwords and logins in
Mhm.
here. All my important information, and all of a sudden
Abs-
somebody else has got it, and the identity problem is an issue. Tell me, Julie, in terms of data, we know that in at the world level, people at the ages of 35 to 39 in divorced or separated, the numbers have doubled. Tell me, do you notice a pattern of behaviors that keep coming up that you go, I can see why you don't say it, but you're thinking, I can see why you're separating. Can you share some of that stuff, like little triggers that might be saying to you, yeah, I can see why something's happening?
the largest, the most blaring is moms, dads get busy with their
Yeah,
careers. They
yeah.
get busy with raising the children. And the big sign I see is the disconnect that partners have with the children always being the first priority. And I love children. Children are a huge, I mean, they are the priority, and I do understand that. But if mom and dad aren't connecting, and dad's saying something and mom's going, uh-huh, yeah, 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 yeah. Mom says something, dad's yeah, yeah, yeah. And just you can see the communication, the snarky remarks, the little jabs that just pulls them apart even more emotionally. They get more detached. The kids grow up more and more and more. And like I said, sometimes when the kids grow up and then when the kids in mid-teens are off doing their things, the partners look at each other and they're like, A, I don't know who you are, or B, I don't like you. So it's a slow, and like I said, it's nothing that's intentional, but it's like taking one step to the right, and then a couple months goes by, and another step to the right, and another step to the right, and all of a sudden you're taking so many steps to the right that you turn around, and your partner is eons from you. So
Mm,
it's not generally something that happens overnight, but it's
yeah,
something that
right.
happens just real kind of just subliminal, just slowly, slowly, slowly. That's what I see in my experience.
Mm,
That's what
mm.
that's my experience with the majority of my clients.
It's like a beanstalk; it just grows, and the leaves come out. And talking about Gertrude last week, she said, I know that quote really, really struck me. If you can't come to the table and eat with me, well, you can't have me either. Sort of thing. And I hear that with a lot of people that are working in intense jobs, etc., and they're just not there. But when they do come home, there's not the gratitude or the thanks or acknowledgement for you've done A, B, C, D, and E. You're running the house, you're running the kids, you're running your
Mhm,
job, you're running
mhm.
the oldies, and you're looking after the bills. And it's a lot, isn't it? And if there's no recognition, then there's no gratitude, and then there's no communication. You can see it imploding very quickly,
Oh
couldn't you?
yes, the communication it's like quicksand. It's just
Mm-hmm.
imploding.
Quick. Yeah.
It's sinking, not imploding, but it is. It's just like quicksand, and it goes on and on and on and on, and these same behaviors keep on being reinforced. And oh, I know you never understood. Just all those snarky little conversations that go nowhere. So yeah, the communication is key. And that's where I get into structure. Like I was saying, take some time, meet with your partner, get on the same page, find some time, take the time. Because if mom and dad aren't happy, the kids see it. The kids see it.
Very heavily, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I mean, on the next level of coaching the women going through divorces, really helping women to understand how the children are being affected. And I mean that in the way of, I've seen a lot of dysfunctional things where the kids are pitted against each other. And so I really help women see those signs and to not replicate it. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a hard one, isn't it? Because the temptation would be there. I know both our children, because we lived out west, had to go to boarding school, and they had wonderful people who were their city parents, both our kids. And I know my son came home one day and he said, I love my city parents, but they're divorced. And I go to one house one weekend, one house the next weekend. And I said, they don't know what's happening half the time. He said, Mum, Dad, please don't ever divorce. It's just too hard to manage it on a weekly level. And that's something I think that I hear often with parents, that because my field is education. So I hear parents say they want their 2 cents worth, 50-50. I'll have the child this week and then you have the child this week. And really for the child, at a young age, whilst kids are very flexible, that can also be quite difficult, can't it? Another bedroom, another new family, sharing their things, and there's a whole lot of other things that go on as well. What do you do in terms of your business of raising the topic of children?
Well, a phrase that I love to use is, do you want to be right or do you want to have a relationship? Now, taking it with the spouse, say that if there is a divorce, it is still a relationship. Even though you're divorced, it is still a relationship. And you need to find ways to make it work. Even if you could say that the other person is not being compliant or whatever, like I said, there's always options. But forging a new relationship with the former spouse is so important. And then getting down to the children, it's the same thing. Do you want to be right or do you want to have a relationship? And truly listening to the children. And like you said, with your example, the kids are speaking up saying, don't do this or do this. This is pulling me apart. And truly listening and seeing the signs with children is another attribute of what I help my moms with. Yes.
As a principal, I could, you could tell straight away if a child in a relationship in a family that was disintegrating, and your heart would go out to them because you could see that their look on their face was very vacant, because they were struggling with all one, as you said, you go to bed one day and everything's fine, but the next day it's not. Now, it doesn't really happen like that because they usually deteriorate over time. But it's really interesting. I remember I had a young boy a few years ago, and he was playing up something chronic. And I arrived at this school and as the new principal, and the very first day this kid was throwing computers around at the walls, etc. Anyway, I took him home and we were able to sit down and have a discussion with Mum. And in the car on the way, he said to me, I think Mum's having an affair. I went, oh, okay, right. This kid just went woof, had only known me for a couple of hours. I had given him a lift home, say, you haven't been the best child today, and here we are, and all of a sudden there's a flip for me as a principal to say, you're probably going to get suspended when you get home, Sonny, but oh dear, no, it's probably, you better better off coming to school and having people around you to support you, because it's going to be tough and even tougher. And with that particular young man, for the duration of that marriage breaking down, his behavior became really extreme. And then the more we spoke, it was interesting when the behavior became extreme, I'd say to him, now I'm not going to take you home today, but you're going to have to do something, to let off all the steam and help yourself. help everyone else, the staff. And so we decided that he was going to run. And he would get out and run X number of laps around the oval. And he would come in the morning and run these laps in the morning as well. And the other kids at first jeered him, but it didn't take too long before the kids cheered him. Mm-hmm. And this young man, with all this drama going on in his life, and this anger and bitterness, ended up coming to me one day and he said, "Miss, I want to go and run in the regionals athletics carnival. I've never done that before because I've always been suspended." And I said, "Well, God, you've got to do it. Let's keep you on track." And he did. And he made it to the regionals and he made it to the states. And I can only think and hope that that young man is doing well in life, because it was after the states that his father came home. He was a truck driver and found out what was going on at home. And of course, everything really did implode then. But to watch this child have something to focus on that was external, it's quite big, isn't it?
That is absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And what I love about it is you gave this poor little kid options and helped him find something to have as an outlet and to use and to get all of his energy out with that, something to focus on, something he could control.
Absolutely.
Yes, he could not control what his mother was doing, but in your own way, you helped him find something that he could control, something that belonged to him personally. And boy, Tracy, that's wonderful. That's inspirational. Thank you.
I love doing things like that, because when you see kids, you can see that you have to step outside the square a lot with kids with their problems. We don't have too much longer. So Julie, I wonder if you could share with our group where they can, with our listeners, where they can find you if they're interested in these courses or they're interested in talking to you. How can they track you down?
Well, I have a variety of ways. First off, I was referring a little bit before about clients who had called for the free consult. I do offer a free, totally complimentary 30-minute consult with anyone. Like I said, if there are men out there that just want to call in and talk, absolutely. Yeah. But I can be found at juliemartinessentials.com. So that's www.juliemartinessentials.com. I'm also on Facebook, Julie Martin Essentials page. They can go there. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn for the professionals. And on the website, as you can click a button that gives you a free consult. It'll put out a calendar. It schedules you. We can do Zoom, we can do phone, whatever they feel most comfortable with. On the Facebook page, they can private messenger me. Any way they want to reach out to me, I am here for them. So those are three, four, or five really easy ways for them to get a hold of me all around the world, any country, any time zone. You're in Australia, I'm in Arizona. It works.
Yeah, and we're doing it. It's amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I know we'll meet one day too.
Oh, we will.
Fun. So Julie, spelt Julie Martin, Martin. So www.juliemartinessentials with an S .com. So that's your website?
Absolutely, yes.
And people can find your website and they can actually book a complimentary call to have a chat. And it doesn't matter whether they're male or female, doesn't matter what relationship they're in or anything.
No, male, female, any relationship. My passion is empowering people. Yeah. Absolutely. Just reach out, 30-minute consult, doesn't cost you anything. And I would love to hear from you.
I love that word, empowering, because it's lifting up people when they're down, isn't it? And we need to do that. We need to do it well. But I do like the analogy about the playbook. So if you think, listeners, that you've lost your playbook, then you need to contact Julie and have a chat, because you've been doing this for a very long time, haven't you, Julie?
Well, I was saying this earlier, is that I have been doing this for a long time with my spa clients. While they were in spa session, I would be coaching them through their divorce, through their separation, through their, whatever has turned their life on a dime. And the programs I've been offering have been offered for the past year now. So I'm exactly just thrilled. On the website, there are the programs, and they can read up a little bit more about those as well. But yes, I've been doing this deep in my heart. I've been coaching my lifetime.
Excellent. So Julie's on Facebook, Julie Martin Essentials, Instagram and LinkedIn. So there's a few different areas there. You can find her on Facebook and go into Messenger to contact Julie. You can find her on her website, and you can have one-on-ones short term, or you might decide that you would like a package, so you might like regular support over 9 weeks that could help you and guide you. And there's always a solution, is what I'm hearing from you, that you always seek to find solutions. And problem solving is a really good thing, especially in this period now of COVID, and obviously the stressors that are going to happen as we move further into the effects of COVID. So 2021 could be pretty dicey, and we're not going to pretend it won't be. It will be very difficult for a lot of people. So Julie, I love the fact that you've come to the table here, or come to the Zoom screen today for us to talk to us. It's been wonderful listening to you and hearing what you do, and the options of help and support you can give to other people. So don't suffer in silence, listeners. Do contact Julie. You are a rare breed, I can imagine. There's not a lot of divorce coaches I know.
There are not a lot. And when I talk to a lot of my friends, they're like, where were you 20 years ago?
Yeah, I can hear that. And so if you're worried about anything, and you're thinking that maybe time is to talk to someone to try and prevent further damage, then Julie's your lady as well. So Julie, thank you so much. All the way from Arizona. It's lovely, lovely, lovely to speak to you. And I'm sure our listeners have enjoyed hearing everything that you've said for us today. So it's farewell from me. Thanks for listening to another 60 minutes of inspiring talks with Tracy Tully Talks at bbsradio.com. Thanks for listening to another 60 minutes of inspiring talking points on Tracy Tully Talks, brought to you by bbsradio.com. Tune in every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Australian time, AEST, and 5 p.m. PT time in America. Leave me a message on my website at www.bbsradio.com/Tracy Tully Talks. If you're interested in lifting the profile, presence and profit of your business, sponsorship opportunities are available. Until next Thursday, it's goodbye from me.